time, making that huge, wide right turn right there. Desmond, where are we now?
We're now on Imperial Highway. We just went westbound on Imperial away from Central, so kind of in the heart of South L.A. And here we are, Thursday rush hour. Thursday, a really busy traffic day of the week, and we're coming up on 5 o'clock. This is a really major thoroughfare, a big alternate to the 105 freeway. So we're going to start to see quite a bit of traffic headed towards LAX right now, westbound on Imperial Highway. You see CHP there in pursuit. Haven't heard any talk about spike strips or pit maneuvers or anything like that, but that's certainly going to be in their arsenal because this has been on surface streets pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, pursuit that started in the Bell Gardens area. Is Desmond trying to get away from officers behind, and so far, Desmond, it looks like the other drivers at least see what's happening, and they've slowed down enough to let this go by.
Yeah, we've been seeing, this has kind of been the MO for this person. Every time they get up to an intersection, they have not hesitated to get on the wrong side of the road to go through that and go through a red light to get away from the police. Now, notice here that this cruiser just came in, and it looks like they're suddenly the lead vehicle. We had one of the larger SUVs that was initially in pursuit, making me wonder if this is a pit certified officer. If they're thinking about it, it looks like they might be. They were thinking about it there. Well, but the speeds kind of got a little bit too high there. Not maybe, the officer thought better of it there because we're coming into some heavier traffic, but that looked, I think that is why this unit has now come in. Must be pit certified, but look at this wrong side of the road, westbound on Imperial Highway now as we come up on Main Street and continuing westbound, so just north of the 105 freeway. That was a pretty tense moment right there.
Yeah, I think you're right, Desmond. I'm looking at the front bumper of that cruiser, and you can see that large grill that they used to conduct the pit maneuvers. So yeah, I guess they did switch out. And
when we see someone that they believe has a gun or a weapon, they will hesitate to do a pit maneuver. So we'll see, kind of backing off now, maybe seeing what kind of situation we can get to, maybe get off of a major street and look for a better opportunity to spin them around and bring this to an end.
Sure, and that's one of the factors, certainly. They can't do it on a busy street. I mean, does the officer have enough room to pit the car and to get around it after for the car to spin around? They got to hit the car pretty hard to spin it and then get away too after. They have to have room on both sides for the unit to get away after. So if the suspect vehicle is hugging just one side, the car can actually roll over and hit someone else. So there's so many different factors that go into this. I mean, people think, wow, you have a CHP car with a pretty good bumper there, so they can just go ahead and bump that car and turn that quarter panel around. But really, there are so many different factors. I mean, the speed, as we were talking about, and our people around, our cars around. And as Desmond was talking about, this is going to be a very heavy traffic hour and time right now. It looks like he's just stopping right there in the middle of the street or going around again, other cars.
Yeah, Susie, that was really close. It almost looked like he clipped that van. Yeah, you see him on the wrong side. I don't see any damage, though. I just noticed that van kind of get over and stop. Well, this is not good news for us as he's going northbound on Vermont back into the LAX airspace. So we'll see what they do here. But just, driving around with no rhyme or reason, we've come out of Bell Gardens and been on surface streets the entire time. But, talking about the pit maneuver there, Juan and Susie, so many times we've seen with these pit maneuvers that the vehicle that they pit ends up spinning around and actually going up onto the sidewalk. So, you have to make sure there's time as to, when they can safely do the pit maneuver. And a lot of times it's a split-second decision. They may have, an extremely small window that they feel comfortable doing it without putting anybody else in jeopardy. So that's looked like that's what they were trying to do earlier, but now you see they backed off a bit as we head northbound on Vermont, continuing through South L.A. and now headed towards downtown Los Angeles.
It means because a lot of times we do lose perspective when we get closer to the airport, and it's just a safety thing, right?
Right. Well, they call this Bravo airspace. Obviously, LAX is one of the busiest airports in the world, certainly in Southern California. Let's see if he's going to go through this red light here at Century and Vermont. It goes right through it. Century is what you would take to go right into LAX. But so obviously, not only do we have a lot of jets coming in, but you have to be at certain altitudes, restricted altitudes, and usually when we're going through this airspace for a story, we have to go really low to go underneath the jets that are on their final approach. But the problem now is we have law enforcement there, and they're already there, and we have to give them all the space that they need. So essentially, we've all kind of come to an agreement that when there is a pursuit that happens in this airspace, which is basically Alameda to the airport, and the 105 to USC. You can think that those are the dimensions. When there's a pursuit that's in that wide swath, I mean, it's almost half of Los Angeles. We basically have to yield completely to the airspace and to the law enforcement aircraft that are overhead.
Absolutely. Let's just bring our viewers up to date here. This is further out. Originally, it was actually in the South L.A. area and southbound on Central. And one person actually came out of that car, and we know that there is a passenger in the seat next to the driver as well. And there is little information that we know, but they did try to get up to the car to an attempt on a pit maneuver, but it did not succeed. They did not do it because obviously they didn't get too close to the car, and there are reasons for that. We always think, gosh, how come they couldn't do that? They were so close, but there are reasons. They might have backed off because that suspect was driving too fast.
Yeah, the CHP had authorized a pit maneuver for this pursuit in hopes of ending it, and we did see what happened there when they got close
to these pursuits. But as they enter LAX airspace, we can do only so much here. So we're going to follow this until we can. But in the meantime, again, this is a CHP pursuit that started in the Bell Gardens area. A red Honda CRV driver being pursued right now. We don't know the reason, but obviously the CHP is not giving up on this one, and certainly they don't give up. I mean, obviously they will sometimes back off because of the speeds, but they obviously want to get this person right now. So
coverage will continue right now. Turn it to CBS 2 News at 5 o'clock. Meantime, we thank you for watching KCAL 9.
It is essentially just CHP at this point. Last we saw northbound of Vermont passing Florence, and it's unclear what the want is, but we know that there was at least 3 people in the car because earlier when they were down at Central right around Manchester, as we were coming around, there was someone actually got out of the back of the vehicle and ran, and then we could tell that there was still a passenger as well. So at least 2 people still in this red Honda SUV, Honda CRV, I believe it is. We will hopefully be reacquiring it here shortly. So we're looking at Figueroa. It's going to be over on Vermont was the last street that we had it on. And you know what? Look, yeah, and again, and to make this transition, we had to go down underneath the jets that were landing at LAX. So that's why we weren't able to stay high and kind of keep a bird's eye view at this point. But we'll hopefully be reacquiring the vehicle shortly as we head through the heart of South LA and going northbound. We were on Imperial Highway for a while. It's been on surface streets pretty much exclusively. We were southbound on Central, westbound on Imperial, and then once they got to Vermont, they made that northbound turn, and they've been still northbound on Vermont. That unit that I was showing you over on Hoover, they're kind of paralleling the chase right now, just in case this person decides to make an eastbound turn. So you see that the coordination with law enforcement, and look at, maybe we're going to see another pit maneuver attempt here. This was the unit that tried it before. But when they tried it before, the suspect sped up and it just got too dangerous, approaching really heavy traffic. But you see him kind of starting to sneak up behind him. But we're coming to some heavy traffic again. And as we come up now to
what is he doing?
Vermont
Look
and
at this.
Vernon Avenue. Yep.
Somebody's
Yeah,
sitting
look
right
at
there.
over on the wrong side as well.
Whoa.
That was a real close call. This is what we've been seeing every time he comes up to a red light. He'll get on the wrong side of the road or over to the right shoulder, almost up on the sidewalk, and no fear at all to go through red lights in South LA now at rush hour. We're past 5 o'clock on a Thursday. You can see the heavy traffic headed southbound. Not a lot of northbound traffic, so let's see if CHP can pick their spot here and bring this to an end.
Well, they're certainly
if they're going
being
to
aggressive.
initiate another pit maneuver.
They're being aggressive,
Yeah,
that's for sure.
absolutely.
They are not letting up, and they're letting that person driving that car know that they're right behind them and they're going to stay with them.
Yeah, and
Pretty
it makes me
incredible.
really wonder what the want is on this one, Pat, because you do see the aggression and the desire to really bring this to an end by CHP. All talking about the major law enforcement agencies in LA County, CHP, sheriff's deputies, and LAPD. CHP is definitely the agency that tends to be the most aggressive with these chases. With
going the wrong way.
pit maneuvers as soon as they get off of the freeway, or just sticking with pursuits. We've seen pursuits with motorcycles over 120 miles an hour, and the CHP cruisers, keep up with them, whereas other agencies might decide to let it go depending on the want. But whatever the want is, CHP definitely determined on this one as we're eastbound on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
Quite a bit of pedestrians out there as well. Let's take a look at an earlier shot that we had of that attempted pit maneuver there. You see that inset box. We understand they backed off of that, but that was, Pat, very close to appearing to be getting into position to pit this vehicle. Again, we don't know the want, but at one point in time, when they engaged at first, there were 3 people inside this vehicle. 1 got out. That was at Central in Manchester. 1, a passenger remains. Of course, the driver is well, Pat, and this appears to be a smaller SUV, a Honda, possibly CRV. There you go.
Yeah.
That is leading this chase, and we just really don't know why this want happens or what is the want is for. We do know that CHP division, one of them, passed it off to another division, which is interesting as well.
Well, they've got several CHP vehicles following this car. You know what, Desmond, do we know exactly, or do we know any more information about who could be behind the wheel? I thought I saw some information where this could be a woman driving this car.
We haven't been able to get that close of a look, unfortunately, just because we've pretty much been in this, airspace the whole time. And now they're heading back southbound now on Figueroa, so kind of going away from us again. We certainly hope for our viewers, if this is going to continue, that they'll head towards the east at this point. But so back into that LAX airspace at 42nd again, onto the wrong side. I do know that there's a passenger, that much for sure, that there's 2 people, and there had been at least 3, so there could still even be someone else in the back seat. But I believe that was at Central and Manchester, or near there, maybe even Central and Century, where we saw someone get out of the back of the vehicle and run. Actually, it was when we were behind a tree, but we heard CHP talking about it, and I'm sure one of the units in the back stopped and apprehended that person. That's one of the reasons why you have multiple units engaged in this as well. Is if you have something like that happen, you have another unit that can stop and go apprehend somebody else that was in the vehicle and try to get some information out of them. And you can see at least 4 in tow here, as well as I believe it is CHP's helicopter that is overhead as well. They had to come all the way from Fullerton. It was initially LA County Sheriff's Deputy Sheriff that was lending a hand on this one, but once CHP's chopper got here, it's now basically all CHP on this pursuit.
And the driver's driving to do another pit maneuver or to attempt another pit maneuver if they choose to. Does this strike you as, well, not necessarily odd, I guess, because we have not seen this driver driving this slowly since you've been overhit, Desmond?
No, yeah, 20, 30, maybe 40 miles an hour. It wasn't until they tried to do that pit maneuver that we saw the driver speed up to about 50, 55 miles an hour, and then that's when CHP backed off. It was like he could see it, coming in the rearview mirror, and so he sped up, and then that was when, CHP thought better of it. Now, again, it kind of looked like, as we saw the unit getting over there to the right, like he was maybe going to try it again, but this is just such a touchy situation as to when to do that, especially, on major streets. We've been on major streets the entire time. Yeah, lots of parked cars, lots of pedestrians out there. A lot of times these vehicles, when they do the pit maneuver, they can spin around onto the sidewalk. So, that is a big consideration for CHP if they're going to consider doing that. And I think we are now going to be transitioning back south on the 110. Now we're on Figueroa, so we should be, which is just to the west of the 110, and we're going to be over the 110 ourselves. So hopefully we'll be able to keep the shot as we now transition back towards the south onto the other side of LAX's airspace.
Some of the aggressive driving you see there on the right-hand part of your screen, that was earlier. I think what is really interesting, Pat, is this is CHP, and this has just been on surface streets since we have joined in, and usually they get engaged when it's on the highways, and we understand one CHP division.
Which is a good thing when you've got all this traffic, for one thing.
Right, but still doing some aggressive driving, going the wrong way there. It's gone through a number of red lights, and also...
See, look at this opportunity. I call it an opportunity only because they're getting so close behind this vehicle. So now they're on West Gage Avenue, Desmond, driving through. Yeah, there's
You might lose
a lot of
here.
homes here.
Yeah, I bet you're going to lose them here a bit, Des, right?
Yeah, because we can't go any higher right now as we're over the 110, and we'll be lucky to hold this shot. We'll just have to see what this weird point where, we're kind of in the middle of what they call the LAX Bravo airspace. If he was, more towards the north or more towards the south, we could make a better determination about which side. We can't stop in the middle of that space. We have to stay on either end of it. So now we're still looking from the north end as they go southbound on Hoover away from Gage. And yeah, lower speeds. That's really the only kind of silver lining with this, is that we haven't seen the insane speeds that sometimes we see of 50, 60 miles an hour. But certainly still some dangerous driving there. We're probably going to see it again here, where they get on the wrong side of the road to get through a red light. This traffic stops. I mean, look at that cross traffic right there. That guy was going 40 miles an hour. Yeah, you're crossing Florence right now, and eastbound like that without even being on a freeway. But when I talked to CHP officers in the past, my understanding is that they have jurisdiction over the entire state of California, but they don't tend to initiate a pursuit or do very many traffic stops on normal surface streets. So either way you slice it, if that is the reason or not, it is certainly odd that we've been on surface streets, I believe exclusively. Maybe this was very briefly on the 710 freeway, but I'd say I can definitely say more than 99% of this has been on major surface streets through Southgate and Bell Gardens and South Los Angeles.
And now look at this shot here. I mean, it's jam-packed on both, but at the same time, they certainly haven't been able to lose CHP either. They haven't been able to lose these officers behind them. Now they're going up on a little bit of a, well, it looked like almost like the street ran out of road there, but they got back on, continuing on South Broadway.
Yeah, it might have been a bus stop. Yeah, it might have been a bus stop right there that he went over, pretty close to the sidewalk there. But yeah, using his turn signal as well. Always really strange to me when you see him using their turn signal. But at the same time, they're going onto the wrong side of the street.
Yeah, it doesn't count for good behavior, does it?
No,
No,
certainly not. There, look at turn signal again. So weird. As we're east.
Florence, so I saw there was a little bit of damage as a result of this pursuit. Probably no injuries or anything like that, but at least this pursuit has caused a little bit of damage in that regard.
Well, look how close the officer is there. I thought they were going to try to do a pit maneuver right then and there, or at least they were right up on this vehicle. So, yeah, I mean, what they're doing is obviously racking up charges. We talked about how we still don't know exactly what the warrant was, but the point when they have certainly not stopped for officers, and if they hit another vehicle, then those are more charges.
Again, with
now they're on Firestone Boulevard, and did I see Compton Boulevard, Des?
Yeah,
yes,
I believe
Firestone
so. That's yeah. There's Firestone and Compton, and a watch commander to initiate a pit maneuver. When we're talking about sheriff's deputies or LAPD, we'll hear them ask their supervisor for permission to do a pit, and then the supervisor, will give permission or not give permission. But my understanding with CHP is that is not the case. That they can basically do what they want on this. But now, look at getting around all of this super heavy traffic, still on Firestone. You see some of that very frustrating Thursday traffic. And you mentioned, the getaway. Oh, there's someone on a little tricycle or something. It looks like that had to come to a sudden stop. They looked like they were about to fly out into the intersection. So maybe trying to catch their breath on this. Haven't heard any talk of spike strips or anything. It hasn't been sticking to the same area that they could have an opportunity for that. I think we've covered a lot of distance on a lot of different streets, and we've seen officers paralleling on.
Because as you mentioned, that was a state highway, and Firestone might have been where it started, so we've kind of come full circle here.
It was in Bell Gardens.
Yeah, headed back to near where this one all began. So we'll see if this was just the suspect going on a joyride for a while, and then if maybe they've been calling some friends or something like that, or if they're looking for a place to pull over. It's just always so random with these pursuits. Sometimes we see insane driving, and then a suspect just give up out of nowhere after going on for a half hour. Other times we've seen pursuits go on for 6 on Alameda, an incredibly congested street. You can just see the casual nature of both the driver and the passenger. It almost looked like they're just disconnected from the reality of what's going on, that they're being pursued by the authorities. There's no agitated behavior. You've got, it looks like a male driver. He's driving with one hand on the wheel. The passenger, I believe, it looked like that was a woman who was just, glued to her phone. And
frustrating with something like this is that you don't know who could be in that vehicle besides a driver. Could have look at that. Could have a little baby or an infant in a car seat, and that just is so disturbing. I've seen that before, and it's just so heartbreaking to see just innocent, innocent.
Case there is, and where even, for low-flying law enforcement, we were able to get right over that, over Sepulveda, the Sepulveda transition they call it, because we fly it pretty high. Of course, law enforcement flies down a lot lower, so they both got hung up in the airspace, onto the wrong side here.
Yeah.
As we go through Wilson Avenue on Florence. We've been on Florence before, but you see the heavy eastbound traffic. Again, this is the direction of traffic. The spike attempt coming. Okay, coming into a parking lot now. This is the first time we've seen him going into a parking lot and off of a major street, and turning around pretty quickly. There's CHP.
And they're met with
Are they going to come in? Oh, we're trying to get that tree out of the way. Oh, you wish you would have seen him. It
Block
looked like
him
there
in.
was a good chance for, to block him in, and he didn't. I don't know what that's about, because we've seen it before. We've seen times where, CHP will not hesitate. If they want to bring it to an end, they'll smash right into the side of a vehicle, and he's got that big, brush guard on the front, so wouldn't have, I don't think, needed to worry about damaging his own car, but
Well, look at this,
we going to
Des.
see a pit maneuver? Oh, he's pitting him, and of course there's a tree in the way. But it was successful.
He swung around.
It was successful.
Okay.
They finally
Passengers
did
got
the
their
pit
hands
maneuver
up.
there.
Look at this. Now their hands are up.
Passengers, all right. I think it's finally going to be over here. Let's see. We've got everyone's hands on the way, and it actually looks like a guy in the passenger seat. I thought it was a woman. Now look, here you have the canine coming out, and a lot of times this is what it takes. They immediately got the canine out. They're giving that dog commands and really intimidating those suspects. 2 canines now.
Yeah.
They want to bring this to. A lot of times when you get those dogs out there snarling and barking, that is a lot of times enough to shake the morale of these suspects and get them to surrender. So good sign that we're seeing the hands out the window by everybody, words being exchanged. They're going to have to follow some commands. But I think this one has finally come to an end at Seville Avenue and California Street in Southgate.
And you know what's interesting, Des? When you talked about the dogs, again, I'm still going to go with the aspect that they're like, okay, let's just get this thing over with. We're not sure exactly how serious the want was, but at the same time, it tied up a lot of resources.
Oh.
And that, what are you getting ready to do here?
Oh, he didn't put the car in. He didn't put the car part. This guy wasn't thinking. Now he's going up on the lawn right here. Okay, now stopping, putting the car in park. But you have the officers coming, guns drawn.
And
Obviously,
the canine.
they really hated to see that. Yeah, and the canine as well, ready in case anything goes south. Okay, cars in park. Time to put your hands back out the window and come out and surrender.
Okay, he's showing his hands. No, he's coming out the other side,
Yeah.
the passenger side. Well, good work by
And they
CHP.
didn't want him to open the door.
Good work
Yeah.
with those spike strips and just really, I guess, taking their time, knowing like, okay, this is going to come to an end, buddy, because they stayed with this person. They stayed with them. It's not as if we thought they weren't as aggressive at times. They pulled back somewhat, but then look at this.
Yeah, they had to, they have to pick their spots carefully, and it was, really difficult when they were on those major streets in rush hour traffic to do a pit maneuver, but they saw an opportunity there as he made that turn and kind of that U-turn and ended up going down, a minor street, and they kind of corralled him to that street to California. It looked like Pat, like maybe he wanted to make a right turn back out onto the major, but he had to turn left, and once he did that, and they were off major surface streets, and CHP made the determination there were no pedestrians around and the potential for minimal property damage. You saw, well, partly that pit maneuver. We tend to get really unlucky with trees just happening to pop up when officers do their pit maneuvers, but we saw that it was successful and 2 people coming into custody.
Okay, well, we're going to call this a code 4, Desmond, and you're probably going to need to get some more fuel because you've been up in the air for a good hour and a half. So thanks for that, and we'll be talking with you again soon. That was Desmond Shaw reporting. All right, well,